Our season tickets really are too cheap. Now, that's not my opinion. That's the opinion of a club insider. They genuinely believe that season tickets at West Ham United are too cheap. We're going to be discussing that in this video. But now and again, a bit of news comes along, or someone says something, or someone does something that really irritates me. And that's exactly what's happened here in regards to this topic. And it is exactly what the club insider has said. And I just think it's so detached from reality. It's irritating me so much. And I'm going to try my best to be calm during the video. But if I start getting a little bit ranty, I apologise now. Anyway, earlier on in the week, West Ham United season ticket holders discovered the renewal rate if they wish to sign up to another 12 months of football at the London Stadium. A small increase for everybody, a big increase for some people. We're going to be discussing all the topics in regards to the season tickets, but I just want to say a massive thank you to anybody over the last 2 weeks who've sent in topics or questions. Myself and Gonzo said, hey, can you help us out a little bit with content over the international break? And a lot of you got in touch, and we're going to finish it off today from David Elkinson, who said, hi guys, I have now received my renewal with a 14% increase, so £585 to £670 for band 3 in the Bobby Moore upper. £5 a game I can swallow. However, what I can't swallow to the point, I will not renew if Moyes is in charge. This season has been the worst to watch in all the time I've had my season ticket, which is 7 years. It cost me about 25 quid to get to the game with petrol and tube fares. The question for all Hammers Chat subscribers is, will you renew if you think Moyes remains? So thank you to David for getting in touch with that one, and anybody else that got in touch over the last couple of weeks. I quite enjoyed it, actually. I've had a really relaxing international break. I've got up to a lot of things, been in the garden. I've had an enjoyable 2 weeks. Because it's friendlies, I've been able to discard getting beat 4-0 by the Netherlands, getting beat 1-0 by Northern Ireland. Sort of looking forward to the Euros a little bit. But I've been able to it's been calm. And then this stuff comes along. Like I said, it's not even necessarily the price increase to my season ticket. I expected it. But it's the quotes from the club insider that has really irritated me. And we're going to discuss David's point a little bit. Because if you're only going to renew if David Moyes is gone, there's a good chance you don't know. The renewal rate is, forgive me if I'm wrong here, I think it's 3rd of June. It's the start of June anyway. It's the renewal rate. David Moyes' contract runs until the end of June. So there's a good 3-4 weeks before his contract actually expires that you need to decide if you're renewing or not. Now you'd imagine, given the last game against Manchester City is the middle of May, hopefully in Dublin we'll have the Europa League final, but in the Premier League it's middle of May, 19th of May I think it is, we're playing Manchester City. You'd imagine you'd find out pretty quickly, if we don't already know by then, you'd imagine we would know pretty soon after that match if David Moyes is signing a new contract or if he's leaving. And I think a lot of people will decide then as to whether they're going to renew for next season or not. David's one of the ones that's waiting to see, needs more information. And I get it. I completely get why people feel like that. If you're renewing and you don't care who the manager is, I get it. If you're waiting to see who the manager is, I get it. I understand everybody's situation. When it comes to renewing, you've got to take lots of things into consideration, whether it be financial, whether it be health, whether it be circumstances. One of mine and Gonzo's friends, who you've seen quite often on some of these videos, he's not renewing because his dad's not in good health. So he wants to spend time with his dad. So he's binning off West Ham next season. And I think the football's probably played a part in it this season, but he's decided to walk away. So what David's saying is to you lot, are you walking away or are you sticking around? But what I want to discuss isn't actually the price increases. It's not ideal. I think it was expected. Doesn't make it right though. But it's more the quote. I think when it first came out, I was a bit, price increase. And like I said, mine's not as much as other people's. Mine's gone up 60 quid. Works out at just under £40 a game, which, do you know what? I think is affordable. Less than £40 for a ticket to go to a Premier League game of football. I think I would deem that affordable. But this is where I get irritated. That part is affordable, and this is where I think the quotes from the club insider, we can all work out who it is, right, given that they're talking about season tickets at West Ham. There's only so many people at the club that deal with this kind of information, and I just think it's so detached from reality. It's actually really angering me. It's almost making on as if, but you're only paying £40 a game, what's the issue? And it's just really irritating me. It's got no understanding of how people go about their lives in order to get to the game. But I'm going to read you the quote. It was on Claret and Hugh, and it's written by Sean Whetstone. He said, a club source told us, our season tickets really are too cheap. If we were starting afresh tomorrow, our season tickets would be 50 to 75% higher, and there would only be concessions in band 6. We cocked up badly by underpricing season tickets from day one when we moved to the London Stadium. Most supporters realise how cheap they are. Our day one renewals this week were at record level. Now, I believe everything. I believe everything in that quote. I believe that is the mentality of somebody at West Ham. And like I said, I'm going to assume that person initials are DS. That's my assumption. That's what I take from that. Sean's not saying that. I'm saying it's probably come from David Sullivan, and that's his opinion. And I believe that is his opinion. I believe he does think the season tickets are too cheap. He will look at other London clubs and think, hang on a minute, ours is nowhere near what they're paying at Spurs and Arsenal. Chelsea maybe, they haven't released their figures for next season yet. But certainly Spurs and Arsenal charge a lot more than West Ham. He's probably looking at that going, hang on a minute, we could maybe be cashing in on that. Did they make it too cheap initially? They had to. They had to make it cheap. We were going from Upton Park to the London Stadium. We're not quite, but nearly doubling our attendance overnight. They had to make it cheap in order to attract people. They knew what they were doing. And the people that picked up these tickets because they were cheap, a lot will be West Ham fans who think, I was one of them. I couldn't afford it. It came at a point in my life where I had more disposable income and I could start going to more games. I attended most of the games at the final season at Upton Park. Didn't have a season ticket, but I attended most of them. But the London Stadium, I was like, right, I can afford this. 500 quid for my season ticket, and that's what it was. It's now 660, I think. So it's gone up £160 since we moved in. But that £500 made me think, actually, even if I only attend half the games, that's worthwhile me getting, so that I've got my seat, it's next to Gonzo, etc. I get the benefits of a season ticket, and it's worth me getting. So I picked one up because it was cheap. But a lot of people that pick one up aren't West Ham fans. But that is who the club can do one. If they're going to pretend this wasn't part of their plan, they can do one. Because yes, they would have loved West Ham fans to get one that can't go there, and they bragged about it. Sullivan sat there bragging about how kids' season tickets were 100 quid. And so they should. It's a fantastic incentive to get young West Ham fans into the ground, supporting the team early on, getting emotionally attached to the football club, and becoming, hopefully, lifelong season ticket holders. It's a brilliant plan. It was a fantastic initiative. Loved it. But they would have also been targeting non-West Ham fans. And if they were to say, no, I don't believe them for a second, those people that buy a ticket because they can go watch Premier League football, that's who they were targeting, because they had to fill up such a big arena. The only way of doing it initially probably was to make it cheap. And there's a lot of people, now I include myself in this, if my season ticket went to £1,000, I wouldn't renew. I wouldn't be able to afford it. I would not renew. But because it's 660, I can stomach that one. I could pay that, sorted, done. But not everybody can, and this is where everybody's circumstances are different. Some people can't afford their jumping in price rise, and I have a lot of sympathy for those, of course I do. Because I don't want to come across as I'm all right Jack here, because I think that's what the club are doing a little bit. So when he said it's super cheap and affordable, the match ticket is, the season ticket is £40 a game, that's affordable. What isn't affordable is getting to and from the London Stadium. The unreliability of the infrastructure around travel at the minute with trains or strikes constantly happening. We've all had, every season ticket holder, I would bet this season, who gets any form of public transport has had disruption. Whether it be they've had to get a bus replacement, whether it's been cancelled, whether it's been delayed drastically, whatever. There is so much disruption in travel these days. It's ridiculous. Not only that, it's bloody expensive to go to and from the games. My ticket, £40 a game it is probably the cheapest part of me going to the football. The travel is way more expensive. If I have to stay over, as I do after the Spurs game, I literally cannot get home after Tottenham game, so I've got to stay over. My hotel is 3 and a bit times the price of my ticket. That is the cheap bit. So when the clubs say our tickets are affordable, do you know what they are? But when you get in a nice Rolls Royce and get driven into the car park, parked outside the stand, and you get out and you walk in, that's a different experience to everybody else. David Sullivan doesn't have the disruption. Do you know what? I wish you'd almost go speak to some of his staff who have to take public transport to and from work every day in London, and they may struggle. He might get an understanding. So when he says it's too cheap, it's really not. It's really not. And here's the next thing that I'm going to have a little complaint about, pardon me. says, we're not going to renew some season ticket holders. This is a club insider told Sean at Clavan Hugh. We're not going to renew some season ticket holders who attend very few games and don't list their seats on the ticket exchange. We're fed up with so many empty seats at games. The season tickets are so cheap, some supporters pick and choose their games, and it's a real problem for us. Now, because of Freedom of Information Act, people like Sean have previously requested attendance records at the London Stadium, and there's sometimes on a match day up to 10,000 people don't attend. So they sell out. They sell out. This is why our attendance rates are 99%. It's not attendance, it's tickets sold. Big difference. I hate the terminology. West Ham's official attendance sold out 99% all season. 99% of attendance rate. It's not. It's a 99% of tickets sold. We have a really high season ticket number at West Ham, and I think this is what the club are trying to get away from. I think the club want less season tickets, in my opinion. I'm guessing because the Liverpool game, the charge, some tickets are over £100. If you want to go West Ham Liverpool at London Stadium, it's over £100 for that ticket for that one game. So the more match tickets West Ham can sell for the likes of Liverpool, Tottenham and Arsenal at home, the more money they make on their matchday revenue from that ticket stream. Obviously, if you've got season ticket holders purchasing them, you've got very few tickets left to sell at such an inflated, ridiculous price and cash in on the people that I spoke about at the start. Because a lot of people that pay over £100 a ticket, there will be West Ham fans, of course there will, but there'll also be non-West Ham fans. Do you know what? There'll even be Liverpool fans. There will be Liverpool fans that happily pay over £100 a ticket to go in the West Ham end, go in the home end at the London Stadium to watch their team play. Of course they would. Why wouldn't they? They're a Liverpool fan in London, living in London, and they can buy a ticket, pop along to London Stadium, watch their team for £100 and leave. It's cheaper than going up to Liverpool and trying to get a ticket for Anfield, which are hard to get anyway. So of course they're going to go. I don't agree with it, I don't like it, but it happens, and the club cash in. The club cash in on people like that, fans like that. We've all done it. We've all had to go undercover and go in the home end in order to watch your team. I've done it. I've gone to some games where I had to go in the home end and watch West Ham play. It's just what you do. You want to see your team play. It happens. But when the club say we're going to punish those who don't attend games, this is where you think, look, there's a reason people don't attend. Are they not attending because they can buy the season ticket and go, oh, it's so cheap, I don't bother? There's an element of that. There is an element of it. But there's also two other contributing factors. We just covered one in terms of money. There's another one, which goes back to David's point. The football ain't great. Now, what I will say is that that's been consistent throughout the London Stadium. Since we've moved to the London Stadium, there's always been up to 10,000 people missing. Obviously, big games, it fills up. But there's quite a lot of games from the very first season up till now where there's been games with a lot of empty seats. There's always been. So it's not a new thing. This is not a new thing. It's happened for a while. And the club is saying they're going to clamp down. But they've been threatening that since we moved in. It's in terms and conditions of your season ticket. The club just don't use it. It's never been done. If you were to go check your terms and conditions for your season ticket, I think it's 7 games. I could be wrong. I think if you miss 7 games or you don't put the season ticket on the ticket exchange, they can take your season ticket off you. I'm sure it's 7. I should have checked really, shouldn't I? But it's in your terms and conditions. It's hidden in there. They just never ever do it because they've got your money. But this is where I guess the club are trying to squeeze every pound, especially now with more and more tougher sanctions for finances. The increase in season tickets for next season will raise about £2.5 million. But they can then squeeze more money because the ticket exchange, put it this way, if you don't put your ticket on the ticket exchange, the club can't make money. You put it up there for the Liverpool game, you might get £30-40 club cash back. But they can sell it for over £100. The club are making £70 off you not going to that game. That is a big profit for them. Now, obviously, I'm going top end Liverpool here. There's other games in between. I put my ticket on the exchange for the Bournemouth game. Didn't sell. Unsold. Now, I'm sure I do think that counts as attending because I listed it, because it didn't sell. They're not going to punch me for that. That will go, yep, Gio attended that game. But I get why it didn't sell. Because it was an evening game, it wasn't a desirable fixture. But surely that's the point. Surely most season ticket holders, if they're going to list it, it's because they don't want to go, they can't go. There's something happening, a train strike maybe, it's an evening game maybe. There's reasons for that ticket getting listed. But it didn't sell. Up to 10,000 people don't go every game because they don't enjoy it. Not everybody, not all 10,000, but I would say there's a 4-figure sum of people there that do not enjoy going to the London Stadium. They don't enjoy the football, they don't enjoy the matchday experience, but they want to see West Ham. So actually they want to do their 10 games a season and go see West Ham 10 times a season. They want to have their seat. They want to sit with their friends when they all attend. They want that £40 a game ticket because they can buy it over the course of the season. The other 10, list it, don't go, give it to a friend, whatever. Now, obviously, myself and Gonzo are privileged, I guess, but because when we don't go to the games, we put our tickets, we do a giveaway as our tickets. We give them to a patron. Our patron goes with mine and Gonzo's tickets. So we have a sort of a different one there, if you like. We've got an advantage. We don't get any money back for it. We just give them to someone and say, you go enjoy the game or attend the game. You go attend the game. But the comments from the Club Insider have really annoyed me. There's a reason people aren't attending, and and rather than worrying why people aren't going, they're worried about how can we get more money out of people. Well, fix why people aren't going first. Fix it. The stadium, the football. People don't enjoy it for a reason. Fix that. And then you might find that your season ticket holders will go to more games because that hassle that they've got, that budget's going a bit tight. They might try a little bit harder to find that 20-30 quid so that they can go to the game. They might put up with the change strikes a little bit more if it was worth it when you get to the bowl. But at the minute, it's not worth it. It's not worth this stress. It isn't. There's a correlation between people attending and people enjoying. There is a financial issue there as well, of course there is, but by and large, make it more enjoyable. Focus on that, and you might find that there's less than 10,000 people not turning up. You might find you've got less people not attending games. It talks about filling up seats. Why instead of moaning that people aren't coming, why don't you work out why people aren't coming? Instead of sitting there going, that's too cheap, why don't you work out why it's so cheap and people still aren't attending? Because if you're saying it's really, really cheap, but people aren't attending, that should be alarm bells. You think your product's cheap and they still don't want it. Think about it. Something's going wrong then, isn't it? What did they say they could charge? 50 to 70%, 75% more? Really? 10,000 people aren't turning up as it is. Imagine trying to say, oh yeah, that instead of £40 a game, we're going to start charging you £60 a game. How many do you think's turning up now? None. Nobody. Well, they won't buy the season tickets for the start. But when it just frustrates me so much. It's like they're blind and deaf. It's like we're not looking. Well, actually, not blind. They're counting all the empty seats, aren't they? But they're just not listening. They're not looking at what the problem is. Fix the problem, and then your problem, which is not enough people are turning up, that will fix itself. It's just really irritated me, and it's irritated me more than the price increase. And then they're moving concessions, but that's for. I've been talking for 18 minutes already. Apologies. They're basically squeezing the concessions out of the London Stadium as well. David Sullivan is currently looking at the big clubs in the Premier League financially and how they're doing their season tickets and going, I want a bit of that, without turning us into a big club. And when I say big club, I mean Champions League clubs. He's looking at clubs in the Champions League going, hey, look at what they're doing for season ticket holders. I might do that, without getting us into it first. And like I said, a lot of people who are waiting to know if Moyes is going to go or not are probably going to have to decide to renew before they know. 3rd of June is the deadline. Check that. Do not take my word for it. It's the very start of June, the deadline for season tickets. I mean, it's middle of April. If you want it on finance, you've got a few weeks to get you want a season ticket holder. You're a season ticket holder and you want to renew on finance. You've got to decide by the middle of April. So you'll have no clue if Moyes is staying or going. So if the manager alters your opinion of whether you're renewing or not, I think you're going to have to do a bit of guessing, actually. I think you're going to have to do a bit of guessing. Now, I'll renew. I haven't done already. Record renewals on day one. I believe that. I've always said, whether Moyes is here next season or not, I think the renewal rate will be over 85%. Perhaps that backs up David Sullivan or the club source, which is they're too cheap. Maybe they are too cheap if that's what's going to happen. But I still think they'll be over 85%. One guy said I'm deluded and a mug for thinking that. I said, put your money where your mouth is. Let's have a bet. He didn't reply. So either he ain't willing to put his money where his mouth is, he's not willing to back up his claims, or he doesn't actually believe it himself. When he says it's not going to be 85%, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he thinks it will be, just doesn't, for whatever reason, doesn't want to admit it. But there will be, people will renew. And you know what? People still will not turn up, because getting to the London Stadium is still expensive. The experience for around the match day, not for everybody, but for a lot of people, it's not very fun. They don't enjoy it. It's not a football stadium. Make it a football stadium, make the experience better, make the football better, and you might find that that issue you've got will sort itself out. Anyway, rant over. David said to the Hammers Chat subscribers, are you going to renew if David Moyes is here next season or not? You can answer David in the comments below if you wish. If you enjoyed this little video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up. Subscribing to Hammers Chat. Myself and Gonzo will be live at 11:25 tomorrow with the build-up show for the Newcastle game. Looking forward to it, actually. I'm quite optimistic. Don't know why. Just feeling optimistic. Maybe I'm in a good mood. As long as I ignore what David Sullivan says.